While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Hey, it's Larry Sharp. I am here on A Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York. So happy that you are here to give me a small chunk of your afternoon. Yes, you can call in if you want to and say cool or not so cool things. If you're in Western New York, it may not be that great, but I'm happy to hear you. 585-346-3000 is the number. You know, when I saw what's happening in Western New York with all the snow and the loss of power and all the things that have been happening, it made me think about when I was a kid, right? It made me think about when I was a kid. In 1977, for those of you who may remember or heard of it, if you aren't that old, you may have heard of it. There was a blackout in New York City. And I lived in the South Bronx in the 70s, as I've told you many times, during that blackout. My parents weren't home. This is the days of latchkey kids, right? Where your kid would just go home after school and stay there. And this was 1977, and my parents were trying to save money by working and making extra cash. I think I told you that story before. And they were out doing that. So I didn't have parents at home. And the power went out. I was a kid. I was in elementary school. I was scared. Imagine if you're a little boy, all the lights go out. You've never heard it before. Your parents aren't home. I was scared. There's no cell phone. There's no internet. It's 1977. None of that stuff's there. But you know what we had in my literally building with, probably a dozen, to almost 100 probably apartments in it, 6 floors. I had neighbors. Even in the Bronx, I had community. And I remember the woman who used to watch me after school, very often, she would come by, during this time. She came by, knock on my door. She wasn't prepared to leave her kids alone because she was scared too. Not the best neighborhood. So was I. But she came and knocked on my door and said, "Hey, Larry, it's okay. Keep the door locked. Don't open it for anybody but your mom and dad. You'll be okay. If something happens, come run to me. Yell out the window. It's okay. You'll be fine. Everything will be okay." But did she know that? No, I didn't know it either. But it made me feel better. It did. I felt like community came through. She said if I wanted to, I can come to her house. I didn't want to. I was too scared. I didn't want to open the door. So she just talked me through the door, literally through the door. You'll be okay. Don't worry about it. Don't open the door except for your parents. You'll be okay. And eventually my parents came and things were fine. The thing I remember is there wasn't much looting. There wasn't that much. I mean, could have been a whole lot worse, but there wasn't. And I thought years later, why wasn't there? I think because a lot of people owned the businesses in the area. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. But there weren't that many. Maybe New York was different then. Maybe we weren't as violent then. I don't know. But this was New York City in the Bronx, South Bronx, and it wasn't that much looting. Now, fast forward to when I was an adult and this happened. 2003. 2003, there's that massive blackout across the entire Northeast. You probably remember that one. That one, though, I was an adult then, and I had a plan. My wife was working in Manhattan. We lived in Queens still in the city. I was in New Jersey working. I was a sales guy doing sales stuff. I know, me sell stuff is true. So I'm in New Jersey. I'm going to confess my crimes right now. It goes out. How do I know it goes out? Because I've been working in radio for many years. And there was a 7-second skip. And for those who don't know, radio stations have a generator. So when the power goes out, the generator kicks in. Well, the problem is the 7-second delay, in case you say bad words, that doesn't work anymore. So there's a 7-second skip. I heard a 7-second skip in my radio. I thought, uh-oh, something's wrong. But we had cell phones then. So my wife gives me a quick call and says, oh my God, the power's out. I said, okay, I'll meet you at our spot. We actually had a plan, a place to meet. In Queens, there's a recruiting station right by the 59th Street Bridge. I told my wife, if something goes wrong, meet me there. If we can't connect, meet me there. I will get there. You get there. I'll get there. Why that? That's a bridge, for those who don't know, in Manhattan, you can walk across. So my wife walked across that bridge. And she brought 2 or 3 friends with her. Little community. I got back to New York as fast as I could. As I'm driving to the George Washington Bridge, I see people standing in line. In line in the car to pay or to do something because there's no power. So there's no cameras to take pictures, no people to do anything. So I just blow right by. I'm like, cops can't get me because there's no camera. And they're like, Larry, you're breaking the law. I am libertarian, so I guess, just saying. So I just sit by. The cops are all directing traffic, as they should be doing in this case. It's dangerous. So I blow by everybody, get to the bridge. I go about 100 miles an hour across the George Washington Bridge in my car. I get to Queens. I get my wife and her friends, and they can't believe we're there. So we drive. I have to drop her friends off at their homes in Queens. There were no traffic lights, but there were individual people out there who were actually directing traffic. It's true. New York City, 2003, individual people got out there, directed traffic. And I got the people to their homes, and I got back home, and we were okay. We had a better plan, obviously, than many people did. But I guess it's the Marine in me, I don't know. But I was ready at this point. And community stepped up. And again, there wasn't much looting. But now I look at Western New York now. And what do I see? A whole lot of looting. Now you might say, Larry, you're being mean. These are people who are hungry or they need medicine. I get that. Sadly, that's not actually true. If it was actually people who were robbing a store to get bread and soup, I'd have sympathy. I hope you would too. You want to feed your family. If it was people who were just getting their diabetes medication, okay, I'd have some sympathy for that. I would. But it's people getting booze and electronics, trashing stores, not just going to get what they might need. In theory, I could understand that, but it's not that. They're trashing the entire store, getting every single bit of that store, trashing it, breaking, crushing, looting. And I said to myself, what happened now that didn't happen in 1977 and 2003? What's different? What's the difference in our culture or our society or our people or whatever? What changed? But I also think about the big riots I remember in the 90s and the Korean shop owners. The Korean shop owners who were out there with their guns defending their stores. Those stores didn't get looted. So where am I going with this? It is a difference between the government and community. That when the government can't step up, and to be clear, am I mad at cops for not stopping every looter? How can they? Right? How can they? Right? I'm not a guy who is back to blue no matter what. I'm not a guy who's like, all cops are bad. I'm neither of those. Cops are human beings. And when we ask cops to do everything, they can't. They're just humans. If you were a cop, you couldn't either. They're just humans. So now we're going to call them for everything. Well, no. I would like them just getting bad guys. And I would guess that most cops would like to just get bad guys. But we call them for everything. We jump in and try our best for government to do everything. And it's failing. But it should fail because it can't succeed. What can succeed? Community. I say it all the time. And we see it happening right now in Western New York. There's a pastor in Lovejoy. I think his name is Robertson. I don't remember, but he's a pastor in Lovejoy. The guy has 130 people in his church right now, keeping them warm and feeding them, taking care of them. Government can't do that. Community can. If we would support community, there'd be a whole lot more pastors like him who'd be supporting people right now. There's a snowmobile club that has better equipment than the government, and it's plowing the roads and physically taking hospital workers into the hospital to help them out. Government can't do that, but community can. So even in this tough time, community is still the answer. Community is always the answer. Community is always better than government. And as we throw more and more on the government, we destroy our communities. And this is the perfect example. Am I wrong? Tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharp, WYSL, Rochester, New York, on a free solution. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Hey, this is Kevin Wilson, host of A Free Solution. You ever need a tool for just one project, but didn't want to spend the cash for something you'd use just once or twice? Well, there's a new tool library in Rochester where you can borrow just the thing you need instead of buying a new one. It's called the Tool Shed from the Southeast Area Coalition, and membership starts at just $25 a year. Use it for home projects or to support your business. Learn more and become a member at seektoolshed.org. That's SEAC toolshed.org.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting the colorful WYSL logo or the already famous Mount Worstmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
Yes, Larry Sharp here on A Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York. So happy to have you here with me. And yes, you're saying, aren't you using that Sharp Way guy? I am. That's true. And you can follow the Sharp Way on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram or on TikTok. It doesn't matter. I'm on all the things. The Sharp Way. Please check it out. Happy to have you aboard. But today with you, the WYSL, Rochester, New York, on a free solution, 585-346-3000. Before the break, I was talking about my experience in New York City during tough times, blackouts, as a kid in 77, as an adult in 03, and then thinking about what's happening now in Western New York and the problems that we're having with lack of power, lack of service, inability to travel, all those things. If I remember right, there's already 48 people who've passed. Many of those people were outside, which means they were either homeless or addicts, or both. And number two, people who had medical emergencies. So people couldn't get to them, right? Physically couldn't get to them. Heart attack, stroke, things of that sort. Terrible. But that's happening in our country. And it's terrible for a couple of reasons. One is we haven't built up community to take care of each other. So when government fails in its planning, which it usually does, when can central planning work? Virtually never. So it's going to fail. And it did. Community wasn't there to back it up. Is it because community didn't want to? Of course not. That's terrible. There are people right now who are literally figuring out how to go door to door. Literally. Youngsters who got a bunch of energy, who are going to start, shoveling a bunch and then keep shoveling and then go to the next person and shovel and they'll just keep shoveling. They got lots of energy. Wish I was 17 again. So yes, they're doing that as they should. While this is a terrible storm, there is a silver lining to all the pain. And the silver lining is it's Christmas. You might say, Larry, why in the world is that a silver lining? It's Christmas. Why is that a good thing? It isn't a good thing. I said there's a silver lining. What does that mean? During this time of year, we are thinking more about others. We are thinking more about family and community. And this is the time when that was needed. And I hope, this is my hope, that we can look back to Christmas of 2022 in Western New York and say, this is the time when we realized we need community. This is the time when we realize that let's stop trying to depend on a government that cannot solve these problems, will not solve these problems, cannot help us, and will watch us die, which it did. Again, not blaming the individual people. Do you think a hospital worker doesn't want to get that person to the hospital? Of course they do. And would they save their life if they could? Of course they would. But they can't. The system stops them. Of course it does. But it shouldn't. Community should be there. Why am I pushing this? Because you can guarantee that with those people who passed, there will now be we have to change the laws and raise the taxes and hire more government workers so this never happens again. Guaranteed you'll hear that. We can fix this by just spending more money. And you might go, but Larry, why in the world wouldn't I want the government to spend more money on this? It makes sense, right? People died. There were errors. Let's spend more money on this. And I understand that knee-jerk reaction. It actually makes sense. You're worried, you're concerned, you want to do something. Let's write some big checks. I get it. Sadly, though, that is incorrect. And worse, it will actually hurt. We have never spent more money on government resources than now, and we still fail. The system itself can't do it. Community will always be better. Every single time it will be better. Will there be people who pass? Yes. Will it be perfect? No. But it will always become better if we use community and we support community, and we're seeing it now. And I'm asking you that when you hear the Erie County executive, or when you hear the mayor of Buffalo, or when you hear the governor of New York State start telling you how we're going to fix this and this will never happen again, and we're going to add a Department of Snowstorms or something like that, which will be what they'll say, or we'll have a snow czar or whatever. That's going to solve the problem, and it only means we need another $15 million. That's it, until they raise that to $1 billion. And that'll stop it, because you know what? If we can just save one life, that'll be the story they will tell you. But let me tell you how you could have saved lives. By allowing community to work. Let me say this again. There is a snowmobile club in Western New York that literally is taking hospital workers to hospitals so they can service people and relieve the people who are there right now. Government didn't ask them. They're not tasked by the government. They're not part of a government agency. They're just doing it. Now, in reality, they can't do it. What do I mean by that? There's a travel ban. They're breaking the law. I'm not making this up. They're breaking the law to do this. Luckily, no one's arresting them. Doesn't mean they won't, but they're not supposed to. I hope, right? But they're literally breaking the law. They are going against the system to save lives. The system is stopping them from saving lives. That pastor in Lovejoy, he's not supposed to be out, but he's out finding people, saying, come to my church. It's warm. It's got food. It's got a place to rest. Come to my church. I'm not charging you nothing. He's not part of the government, an agency. He didn't get a government grant. None of that. But that's what's happening right now. That's piece one. Piece two, why is everybody looting? And I go, Larry, they're looting because they're hungry, as I said before. If that's true, I would have some sympathy. But I think you and I both know that's not why they're looting. If you're that hungry, the church is right there. He's got food. Said so. Got food. If you're just going to go in, grab the soup and the bread and go home, bad, but you know what? I have sympathy for that. But they're not. They're grabbing electronics and booze and heading home or selling it or whatever. Imagine if we actually respected the Second Amendment. I'm not joking. Larry, are you saying you'd want to shoot looters? I'm not saying I'd want to shoot looters. I'm saying I wouldn't have to. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have to. That's what I'm saying. How do I know that? How many Korean shopkeepers in LA were shooting looters? Not many. They didn't have to. And that's the point. We think that if we are more liberal, I'll use that word to trigger some of you guys, more liberal with our gun laws, and I mean that in the classic definition of that all of a sudden there'd be shootouts everywhere. I would argue the opposite. You'd have a safer society, less cops getting in trouble, and less people trying to loot. Because again, imagine if you actually had that out there and you were a family. To be clear, I know some of you are going to be saying, Larry, you're being mean. What about people who are hungry? If you actually went to a store owner and said, I got kids. Can I get some bread and some meat? Can I get some veggies? Can I get something? Can you imagine how many store owners would say, yeah, fine. Yeah. You're going to loot my store? Don't loot it. Here, take some bread, take some veggies, take some meat, take some soup, feed your family. Of course they would. They'd probably use it as a marketing tool. They probably would, look, I'm going to put some food out. You want some food? Come get it just to loot my store. And I got 4 guys strapped in case you try to loot my store. But here's my food. Where was the governor saying that? Where was the mayor saying that? Where was the county executive saying that? They didn't. They didn't ask for community to assist at all. This is what a leader actually does. A leader doesn't say, I got this, sit in your house, do nothing. My minions will take care of it all. A leader says, get up off your ass and let's get something done today. People are in pain. If you can help, help. I'm going to go out of my way to assist you in helping. Community, step up. You tell me how awesome you are. Okay. I'm going to call you to task. Help me out. Show me where my plows should be going. In fact, if you can plow way ahead of my plows, do that. That's what a leader does, and we don't have that. We don't have that. And this proved it. If you can move community to action, that's a leader. And I'm going to say people are doing that. And we got to keep doing that. And we are seeing people show up when we need them to show up. Going door to door, using their own equipment to help others. That's what a leader does. That's what we should be doing. And sadly, we don't have that. Larry Sharp here. Honor Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York. 585-346-3000. A lot of you are blowing the chat up. I promise I will cover your chat. I just got a little preachy. I apologize. I do. I'll be back after break with your calls and your chat.
Pray for the USA. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We're looking at mostly cloudy skies, just a couple of flurries or a passing snow shower in the 20s. On Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, but we'll start to see some milder air come in. We'll be in the 30s to near 40 Wednesday afternoon. More noticeable on Thursday with a mostly cloudy sky. We'll be in the 40s.
It's just my 2 cents.
And we'll be in the 50s with some showers Friday.
Part of the reason the looting wasn't so prevalent,
Why
at
do
least
businesses choose to move their website from Wix and
in your later years,
Simple Tech Innovations?
Rudy
Maybe it's their
Giuliani and the
excellent
policing
customer
that was
service
done
or
back
attention
then,
to
right?
detail. Maybe it's their ability to
You know what
give
I
a
mean?
truly customized solution. Or
Yeah, hang
perhaps
on.
They
I
just
got a
like
call
the fact
coming in.
that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest
Yeah, because
assured knowing that the
when
local team at
Giuliani
Simple Tech
was
has your best
mayor,
interest in mind
there
when
was
building or
what was
updating your
known as
website.
you know,
They're
broken
hands-on
window
and love
policing.
helping customers achieve their goals.
All right,
But
we
don't
got a
take
call.
my word
Keith
for
from
it. They've won
Rochester.
the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an
You're welcome.
A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Dear Dr. Sussman.
Dear Dr. Sussman, I just wanted to write to all the wonderful people who work with Dr. Sussman and Dr. Pogel at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Each person in the office made me feel my smile.
Not only
was
am I
important.
completely happy with my smile, but I feel you've been there for me with all my dentistry
I've had
needs.
several dentists in my life, but never a dentist of your caliber. You have state-of-the-art.
You keep
dental
current in your field as evidenced by your numerous diplomas and certificates, and your entire staff is really the cream
I'm
of the
thrilled with the outcome of your skills and artistry. It's made such a difference in my life.
Dr. Sussman, Dr. Pogel, and the entire staff at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry take great pride in providing not only advanced dental care, but extraordinary cosmetic dentistry. They love what they do and have a partnership with their patients toward long-term dental health.
For a bright, confident, beautiful smile.
Thank you, Dr. Sussman.
Thank you, Dr. Pogel.
Thank you.
Change your life, change your smile.
For more information, call the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry at 22 Smile or visit 22-smile.com.
WYSL.
You can leave a legacy in our community. Please consider a planned gift to Camp Good Days and Special Times. Camp Good Days has been a source of hope and support for our community. Your planned gift can help ensure that the camp will always be here for the children and adults who need us. Learn more on our website or call Camp Good Days and Special Times at 585-624-5555 and ask about planned giving options.
WYSL. This is the greatest game we've ever seen. 4th and inches on the goal line. Timeout. Hello?
Honey, we need help. The furnace won't turn on and it's freezing in here.
What's up? Furnace died. No heat.
That's an easy call. Taylor Heating, 500 help.
Moments later. Okay, thanks. It's Taylor for the win. Now back to the game.
Touchdown.
Call Taylor. 500 help.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor, Anthony Dijon. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, let's work together to help ensure you're prepared for the future. After all, retirement isn't the end of the road, it's a new beginning. Give me a call at 585-924-7471.
Edward Jones, member SIPC.
WYSL.
Hi, this is Joe Santani from the radio show Medicare U.
Hey, did you catch a story about Santos lying about his education?
As we explore the ins and outs of Medicare, we're your healthcare translators. If
Yeah.
you're 65 or will be soon, you'll need this important Medicare information for the best coverage, best health, and best price. Medicare U, Tuesdays at 7:30
Oh, yeah.
and Sundays at 1 on the WYSL stations.
WYSL.
Are you interested in indoor target shooting? Or do you know someone interested in indoor target shooting? The Rochester Rifle Club has an indoor range in Brighton, New York. Shooting is with .22 caliber rifles, air guns, and pistols with reduced loads. We have leagues and open shooting times. For more information or for a membership application, go to our website at rochesterrifleclub.org. That's rochesterrifleclub.org.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
Yes, Larry Sharp here on Our Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York. So happy that you're with me this afternoon. The number to call, 585-346-3000. I've been talking a lot, and I'm a little bit preachy, I know I was, but I was talking about how community can step up, how leaders are supposed to rally local communities, not just tell you to sit in your home and wait for their minions to do the work. How that this is proof that community can do better, will do better than government. But you're going to find next week, a couple days, them asking, begging, forcing more government, which will stifle more community. We have to push back against this. Let me grab a call if I could. I'm going to grab Keith from Rochester. Keith, how are you, sir?
2 points. I know you've heard in India where they pay people or give them small loans for micro business startups. When they try to transplant that to the United States, the backers in India were basically told that the American poor were too rich to become involved in that, meaning that our poor often live better than middle-class people in other countries. The initiative and gumption to do and start something, whether it was the small garage inventor, all of that's been replaced by big corporate research. We have lost the ability to be an individual Thomas Edison. Secondly, if you're going to have community, you first must have personal morality among every individual. Here we have Buffalo, by example, a big Democrat-ruled city, and the Democrat mayor is out chastising looters for what the shenanigans they're up to. That Democrat mayor better look at himself in the mirror. It's Democrat policies that took away the individualism that we need, certainly in these urban areas, but of course all across America. When government comes in and gives people everything they don't need to do, or they feel they don't need to do for themselves because they are on their proverbial government teat. So in closing, if you want true community, you've got to install personal morality. Without that, there's no sense of community. You mentioned why culturally do the Koreans and other groups come in here in Rochester? All of these neighborhood groceries run by Middle Eastern and Hispanic people, they come in with true grit. But when certain groups are all the time fed by the government is A-OK keeping them in modern day slavery, call it for what it is. And if you don't allow people, if you don't help them, if the government would just get out of the way and allow people to understand that they must have personal morality to persevere in life and just not go out and rip someone else's possessions off. If you don't have that, you don't have community, period.
Let me touch a couple pieces there. Your first part was 100% on the money. No issue. I want to touch the second piece, though. How do you build individual morality? Well, there are two things. One part you hit, one part I think you didn't hit. Here's the part you hit. If the government keeps giving you stuff, you don't have any loyalty. You don't have any response. You just keep taking. You're right. And you get lulled into a position of, I just keep taking. I brought this idea up, before. Imagine, whoever you are now listening to this, if you had never seen your parents go to work. Not just that, you had never seen your grandparents go to work. Like, that's not a thing you ever saw. You never saw your mom or your dad go to work. You never saw your grandma or grandpa go to work. You never saw that as a thing. Think how you would think about work. How would you think about that if you've never seen it in your own family? You saw it on TV or other people on a movie or something online, but you never experienced it yourself. How would you think about that? If you saw people who barely graduate high school, if they even graduate, and not start a career. You never watched it. Your parents didn't do it. Your grandparents didn't do it. Your cousins didn't do it. How would you think? That part is the harshness that's hurting so many people. Second piece, though, if I want to build community, I have to see value in my community. So if my community begins to help me, I then want to help my community. If my church steps up for me, I want to step up for the church. It is natural. And as more people do that, others will copy. So even if I wasn't raised, to your point, Keith, maybe I wasn't raised in a way that would want to help my community or want to step up and do right. Maybe I wasn't raised that way. But if I begin to watch my community do it, I will simply do it because that's what we do. I will be moved into that, right? I will begin to copy those around me because humans do that. We're affected by our environment. So my entire piece here is, I think you're right. We have put government in charge, which literally puts people in a position of serfdom, of just depending upon the government to just keep me alive, and that's it. And when everything bad happens, it's okay if I rob or steal because it's an invisible corporation with no face and they're all mean and evil. So I can go do that. And I validate my bad behavior. And then everyone around me, and this is my key, Keith, everyone around me says, good job, well done, let me do it too. And in fact, if you don't do it, your peer group goes, what's wrong with you, Keith? Why aren't you stealing? We're all stealing. What are you, dummy? Go steal. What's wrong with you? So if we change how our community thinks, you will find the individual begin to change also. I think that's the piece I wanted to add to what you said.
I agree with it. In closing, everyone look up the year 1965. The two villains who started this were President Johnson and Ted Kennedy. Johnson and Kennedy started it in exact year 1965. They wanted to undo, and here goes the African-American family making blacks dependent on government. And in 57, 58 years, that they excelled, they succeeded. And that's why Koreans, by example, will come here and work hard. Middle Eastern people, I know several of them, same with Hispanics. But the people who get caught up in that government treadmill and who are never released, they, as you stated, Mr. Sharp, they never saw their parents working, and the government wants it that way. Look up 1965, President Johnson, old LBJ, and Ted Kennedy. They are the villains.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the call.
Bye.
So let me grab a couple of comments from the chat. Becca says, I'm from Rochester, and I watched a clip of an individual smashing the front door of a liquor store and taking multiple bottles. Becca, this is my point. If someone is actually stealing food because they got to feed their family, I have sympathy. I do. There are areas that are basically food deserts, and they don't have cars, and that person might have to go get food to feed their family. If that's what it is, I have sympathy. I absolutely do. You just want to get loaded. You know what? I don't have sympathy for that. I don't. Absolutely. Michelle comments on with that. They were walking down the street with big screen TVs. I saw that too. Absolutely. I agree. Yes. That libertarian lady says, my favorite hour of the week. Merry Christmas, Larry. For those of you who celebrated, Merry Christmas. I did. Someone got upset and put that I put Xmas on the show description. It's because of space, guys. I would have written out Christmas. It's just space on the internet. That's all it is. Twitter and such. That was the reason. No disrespect meant for anybody. So yes, absolutely. Just kind of funny. So Valerie goes on to say, discussing how, bad word, people behave since COVID. It has become worse. I think you're right. I think it has become worse. And I think the point that Keith was bringing up is a valid point. And the point that we've had more and more government in New York specifically take over more. She continues to say, Mayor Brown, Topi, Erie County Executive Pulling Carnes, and Hoke will fail Buffalo. To be forward, could they have not? I'm not excusing it, Valerie. I'm not excusing it. But look at who they are. There was no way they couldn't have failed. They don't know how to motivate community. They don't want to motivate community. It's not in their best interest to motivate community. It's in their best interest to keep as many people on the government teat as possible. And they're doing it, right? And they'll do more. This is why I'm bringing this out. We need to keep this in mind when they say, we need more. We need more. Give us more money. Give us more people. Give us more of everything. Yes. Jim says, I grew up in Syracuse, and we used to make bank shoveling and pushing out cars after a big storm. Yes, that was the norm. I remember, Jim. We would get out and start helping people. That was the thing. When I was 16, 17, that's what I did. Got a shovel? Let's go. Hope we got some cash. And sometimes we did. And sometimes we didn't. But we did it anyway. 100%. That's community. You are correct. Am I wrong, guys? Is Keith right? Is Keith wrong? Let me know. Larry Sharp, WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000 on a free solution. Back with your chat and your calls after the break.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Are you interested in indoor target shooting? Or do you know someone interested in indoor target shooting? The Rochester Rifle Club has an indoor range in Brighton, New York. Shooting is with .22 caliber rifles, air guns, and pistols with reduced loads. We have leagues and open shooting times. For more information or for a membership application, go to our website at rochesterrifleclub.org. That's rochesterrifleclub.org.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting the colorful WYSL logo or the already famous Mount Worstmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
It is Larry Sharp here, WYSL, Rochester, New York, on a free solution. So happy to have you here this afternoon. Give me a small chunk. I appreciate it. We've been talking a lot about community stepping up, about government getting in the way. And the thing you've heard me say 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, whenever you add government, you remove community. And we're seeing that yet again. And the answer will be from our leaders, I'm doing air quotes, more government. And I'm asking you to remember what I talked about when I ran for governor in 2018 and this year, 2022, when I ran. I spoke consistently about having government support growth of community and local groups doing the right thing, so we can pull away. People do fall down. People need help. People have problems. Absolutely, we all do. Every one of us has had a problem, fell down, made a mistake, got unlucky, did something dumb, whatever. All of us. We all need help at one point in our life. I want you to be helped. I want to be helped. I just know that community is going to help better than government, because what people don't understand is the first thing you need, first thing, with any problem you have, medical, mental, financial, physical, health, doesn't matter, whatever problem you have, the first thing you need is somebody who cares. That's the first thing. When you get that, now you can figure out, okay, is it a program I need? Is it a drug I need? Is it a medicine I need? Right? Is it some kind of system that I need help with? What do I need? You can figure that out when you first get someone who cares. Government cannot care about you. It can't. You're a number. You go into a box and you get the services of anyone who's in that box. That's not going to help most people. It'll satisfy most people. It'll keep you in the spot you're in forever. But are you going to actually get fixed, repaired, and grow? Probably not. Most are not going to. Let me grab some more comments. You have so many of them. I appreciate it. Christopher says, one of my friends opened his house to anyone for warmth and food. Another gave the plow drivers hot coffee and snacks. Yes, there's people out there trying to make a difference. Absolutely true. Yes, I love that. Paula goes on to what I talked about. If community steps up too much, government may get less needed and less relevant. Yes. Yes, that's my point. But yes, you are right. That's the point. Patty says, I'm 62 and it happens over and over. We need a war on snow. Bingo. That is what we need. A war on snow. What could go wrong, Patty? Every other war the American government has put together has worked. The war on drugs, we've solved the drug problem. The war on poverty, poverty's gone. Oh, wait, none of that's true. So, yes, the next thing will be absolutely war on snow. I appreciate that. That's great. That is really great. So, all right, let me grab a couple more of these. Patty goes on to say, about the kids shoveling for non-relatives. I know a homeowner who lost their insurance and then home because a 15-year-old neighbor fell while shoveling and broke his leg. It's a wild world. Here I will do what you hear me do constantly. Attack our terrible judges. New York State has terrible judges. If you're a judge, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not terrible, you're embarrassed by the terrible ones. And if you are terrible, you're mad that I called you out. But either way, our judges are terrible. And there's no way that case should even be taken. Of course not. If people are trying to help, why are you devastating them? Why are you crushing them? Why would you do that? Why would you be punishing people? Why would you make it harder for people to help? That's the problem. They're helping to crush local people trying to help. It's terrible. So yes. All righty. Let me keep going if I can. Guys, thank you so much. Jamie says, is it still illegal to feed the homeless in New York City? Yes and no. This is how New York works. Right now, as you heard me say already, it's basically illegal to help people. And the people who are helping right now are breaking the law to help. If you are in New York City and you're a restaurant or a donut shop or a coffee shop, and you just put your food out afterwards and say, hey, if you're homeless or hungry, take it, we're wrapping up. That's against the law. You have to throw it out because the food might be bad. I'm not joking. So you throw it in the garbage. So what do people who are hungry or homeless do? They now dumpster dive. So you've basically ensured the people who still want the food anyway, and it's still good food, they jump in a dumpster now to get the food. So you've taken away their dignity to make sure government has its rules versus just letting people give if they want to give. Is there a problem people giving out food? Are you trying to poison the homeless? If you are, punish the person. You shouldn't be poisoning the homeless. But there's already law against that. So it's fine. Yes, sadly, I wish you were wrong. Nate says Cornhill neighborhood Utica is considering the ghetto, he puts in quotes, and is currently locked down because a man is walking around with a machete. And apparently some of the neighbors are threatening to shoot him. Because of this, my friend can't go to work. The store, they can't leave. Roads are blocked. There's just so much wrong with this scenario. It's sad. Wow. Yeah. Nothing but bad is going to happen from this. Nothing but bad is going to happen from this. Agreed. Jim goes on and says, no accountability. Yes. It's a big deal. Yes, that is a big deal. I completely agree with you. Look, the reality of it is, this kind of goes back to what Keith was saying in a way, in that who's going to be accountable? If government is always accountable, government never gets punished, right? When government makes a mistake, then government gets more money. Government is rewarded for failure, but the private sector is punished for failure. And other people in the private sector can grow from that and go, that guy messed up. I'm going to start a company to do this. I'm not going to do what he did. So the private sector grows from errors, meaning gets better. The government also grows from errors, but only in budget. It is getting better. So more people without accountability, even in government. I think that's the key, right? That's the piece. Gene says, when my ex-husband left me, what helped me through that time was my church and a church up the street. Oh, you know, I say this all the time. Too many times we look past community, and community is the key, because those are the people, right, Gene? There were people that I'm sure who had been through a similar thing, whose lover or spouse had left them, and you were able to share your pain and not feel like the world was ending. But more importantly, when bad things happen to any of us, you know this has happened to you. You want the world to stop and acknowledge and get that you're in pain or things are bad. Government can't do that. It just can't. But can your neighbor? Yes. Can your church? Yes. Can some pastor in Lovejoy, New York do it? Yes. Can some snowmobile club in Western New York do it? Yes. They can literally stop what they're doing and go help you and say, you know what? You're in trouble. I'm going to stop my world to help you. And I think that's what we need to keep going, right? That's what we need to keep going. Thank you for that, Gene. I appreciate that. Patty says, Larry, they punish the helpers because we must be dependent on the government. I wish you were wrong, Patty. I wish you were wrong, but you are absolutely correct. The piece that I have to reiterate is that in the coming weeks, they're going to start pointing fingers. They're not going to actually reward the people, the local people who did anything. They may symbolically do something here or there, but they won't. They're going to say how awesome the mayor was, the leadership of the governor, the leadership of the executive. That they'll do. And then they'll ask you for more money and they make things worse. But what matters most this holiday season, this Christmas season, this New Year season, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating, is community. Thank you so much. I will see you all very soon.